Joining us next on the show, one of our favorite little gems here in the Sylvan Lake Kegel Harbor community is the Butchery. To talk more, let's bring in David Hubbard. He's the chef. So great to have you.
Hi, Ronnie. How you doing? Great to be here.
We're good. I think this is the first time we're having you on the show.
Yes, the first time on your show, definitely. This isn't the first time I've met you, though. I think you've been into the store, and I've seen you even before we opened the store. So
I know you've been a part of our community for years. You used to work with Annabelle Cohen. We've
correct.
had
Yep.
her on a few times as well.
Yeah. Oh,
Uh,
yeah.
Annabelle and I go back to Fox 2 producing days.
I was gonna say a couple years, just a few.
Yeah, I like that because we don't want anyone to add up the years, right?
Yes, I'll say that.
So can I ask you, how are things going? Because it does look like you're expanding a little bit.
It's kind of twofold. We expanded, we opened up the pop-up space next door to the store, if you will, the meat market here. And then COVID hit, and so we kind of shut that down. And so it was a good thing in a lot of ways because we could focus on the store, the grocery, and the meat, and that kind of was what people needed at the time. So it kind of worked out for us in that manner. So now we're trying to get pop-up back open and kind of bring people in smaller groups, 6 to 8 people. The space can fit up to 40. So we're trying to be really small, distance, give everybody an only private cooking classes, so we can be as responsible as possible. But it also gives us an opportunity to just keep the flow at the store. We can keep people distance. We have the extra space now. So no one coming in feels like they're crowded or uncomfortable with more than, say, 3 or 4 people in the store. We don't generally, because we are a smaller spot, we don't generally get that busy. So it kind of it flows pretty well. But expansion, as far as expansion, that's what you're seeing. We're just trying to fill out the space again and get things going.
If we can stick with the shop for just now, I can't wait
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
pop-up, by the way. So, but with the shop,
Hmm.
it's like you said, for us that live here in the community, we've been so desperate for some type of local, a little store, such as the Butchery, and you guys opened, and it's been great to see you start to add more things because you don't have to run to Kroger, you don't have to run to Aldi. It's right here in our backyard. But what's been the response from the community? Are they supporting you more and now because of the pandemic, or does it ebb and flow?
I think it's more ebb and flow, quite frankly. Pandemic hits, you got to think about it. We're more of a specialty market, so we're a price point. People that might not be able to afford us, so they might be pushed to another market, if you are, or more of a larger place, a box store. But I would say, as far as support, we see a ton of support from the very close community: Kegel Harbor, Sylvan, West Bloomfield, Pontiac, Commerce, even. But it ebbs and flows as far as like the weather, right? Like, no, nothing different. Like, if it's really nice weather, people want to barbecue, that they're going to come and get some. But to more specifically to expanding to what people want, in the store, we started out with the idea wanted a meat market. But because of the demand of the community, there is no 3.5 miles to Kroger. It's the closest grocery store proper. People are asking for more grocery items. So we were able to add on even bread, chips, if you will, crackers, a lot more cheese, things that kind of fill out the meal, not just the center of the plate, if you will.
Yeah, because sometimes, if you just need an avocado, you don't want to
And
run.
we try to have, yeah. The biggest challenge for us, and I think it would be for anybody, is finding those items that we can move enough that it makes it worthwhile for both of us, right? Our price doesn't have to be super high, and we can move enough volume so it works out for both us and the customer here close by. The community has told us that we like romaine lettuce, but we don't really want a ton of a mixed lettuce. So we've kind of weaned it down, to, we have a romaine, we have a spinach. We try to have maybe my idea coming into it as a chef, we try to have what you would need to complete a full meal, different kinds of meals, if you will. But we do find ourselves getting questions like, are you going to have cereal? Are you going to have some of the more staple items? Flour, we found in the pandemic, my wife was bagging 5-pound bags of flour and things like that we were buying in bulk. And that was rice and stuff like this. People were very, very thankful for that. So that was us just adjusting to what was needed. We don't need that necessarily now, but we can have like a higher end, say Caputo flour on our shelf, and it does pretty well. So I guess long way to answer your question, but yeah, it ebbs and flows, but we're just trying to adjust to what the community wants, quite frankly.
And that can be hard because it's
Very.
changing as
Yeah,
the
yeah.
pandemic's been changing. And at the end of the day, you're still a business needing to survive.
Yeah, we're a young family, a young business. We just came in 17, May of 17, so we're just about to celebrate our four-year anniversary here. So all those hurdles and obstacles of learning how to run a business, how to be a proper manager, how to be a part of the community, right? So to be able to be intertwined with what the people want, and also to be able to take care of our little ones and our needs too. Yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but I think we found a community that is very receptive to if we need to take a day off. They understood, like last week, we took a couple of days off and shut the store down and just relaxed at home. We didn't have any backlash. No one was upset. No, that's the thing that I think as a small business that warms my heart, because the community is what makes that possible. The people that walk or ride their bike here, that say, you need to take a break, Dave, you're getting a little edgy, they let me know, so that's the part that's kind of cool. And so I'll make sure I have whatever it is that they want next time they come in, kind of thing.
We're talking with Dave Hubbard. He's a chef over at the Butchery, located right there on Orchard Lake. And with that, Dave, what's it like to work with your wife every day?
It's it has its ups and its downs, like anything else, right? So it boils over. The biggest thing is, and I get asked this question a lot, and it's really hard for me to answer it, but I've taken a lot of time to think about it, and I'll probably give you the best answer. We had to really find a way to separate the two. When you go to work, you have that work life, you have those people that you deal with, and you come home, and then you just have family, and you can share the stories from work or share the stories from what you did when you weren't together. Julie and I don't have that thing, so it's like, we know what you did because we were there. And it's so finding ways to separate the two has been our biggest challenge, yet the most rewarding. So finding different ways to go on a 2-hour day date on a Wednesday when the kids are at school and we're closed, right? So stuff like that. Nothing. It's tough, but it's easier from the standpoint of when she yells at me, I know that, but she can't fire me, right? And vice versa. If I'm yelling at her, I can't really fire her. Like it's a 50-50 thing, right? So we have to learn to be amicable in a lot of ways. So like marriage maybe taught us to be good business partners.
Well, it really is amazing to see so many couples that can work together, because I think one thing throughout this pandemic, it's put so many new dynamics on
Oh yeah.
families. Because, even in our household, I'm used to my husband leaving and going to work. It's like,
Yeah.
hey,
Yeah.
are you guys allowed to go back to the ballpark yet? When do you think you're going to be able to get back into the studio?
Oh, 100%. She's same thing with Julie. I do a small podcast myself, and I do some other stuff that's off premise, just my own kind of whimsical stuff, cooking and having fun. And she's always asking, yeah, don't you need to go do something?
So with that, are you guys still doing like the lunch sandwiches, that side of the house as well?
Definitely. We shut that down proper during the peak or the shutdown of the pandemic time. So we didn't do the sandwiches. We didn't do any kind of service, if you will. But we opened that up just before Christmas. And yeah, by the demand of the people, it was more of we had a lot of customers that were upset that we weren't serving the sandwiches. They're like, we're not here to get your meat. We want the meat. We want the sandwiches. We don't want to cook it ourselves. We want you to cook it. So by demand, they're back. And I got to tell you, that's probably the most, as a chef coming in and having a meat market and doing this whole thing, switching kind of hats, if you will, daily, being able to make the sandwiches and cook and do stuff like that is probably the most rewarding part for me on the daily. And just the response, people, they're more excited about that than anything else that we do here. So it's kind of cool, I think.
Well,
You
they
never
are
know
some
what
of the best sandwiches, though.
Well, we
They
appreciate
definitely
that.
are. So with that, Dave, too, if I can ask, what's it been like for you with the supply chain?
That's a great question. In the beginning, it was very, very tough, especially for us being a smaller business and not really having a strong foothold, being a young business. So we had to pivot, and we really leaned on Cisco Food Service, a large, generally restaurant supplier. Was the one who came through and really helped us in a lot of ways, because they had a lot of product that they weren't supplying for restaurants. And so here we had an avenue to produce it and sell it to the folks on a retail setting, in a meat market or in a grocery store setting, like a restaurant couldn't, right? So that was a really good partnership for us, just connecting that from my days as a chef in the restaurant world. That and Caps Wholesale downtown, Fairway Packing, these companies did very well at making sure that they kept us local, smaller Michigan brand companies, Bush's, Plum, places like, they kept us going, they kept us supplied. We didn't really feel much of a dip. The bigger thing now is it's the staffing, right? So at if you will, part of slaughterhouses and production houses, farms, there's no people. Even you go to McDonald's, there's no one working there. You come to our store, where we've been now hiring since the day we opened. Just finding staff is really the challenge. So for us, it's the pricing of the meat is gone, the commodity of it, right, has gone out. Like, just it's bounced in the last 2 or 3 weeks, just 10-12% even. And it's going really high this summer because there's no one to really produce the meat. So there's very little bit produced. And so whoever's going to pay the top dollar for it's going to get it, right? And that's hard for us as a smaller guy to pass it on. So it's just finding ways to maneuver through that. But the supply chain has been fairly good for us, finding that partner, if you will, that would normally supply restaurants.
It really is. When you're a small business owner, there are so many aspects to running the business and keeping it going. And,
Oh yeah.
in the supply chain, if they're having staffing shortages, then that impacts the business and then all of us as well. Dave Hubbard with us here on the MegaCast. He's a chef at the Butchery. And with that, Dave, I'm so excited to see you all starting to bring back the pop-ups, because for us here locally, Jeremy's, when it used to be Jeremy's before
Oh yeah.
Jaybird, he used to do these private cooking classes. And my husband used to think it was okay to, microwave chicken.
Oh my goodness. Yeah,
Like,
yeah, totally. Come
right.
on.
So I had to send him over there to one of Chef Jeremy's classes, and now they've
Yeah,
switched. And so
yeah.
it's great to see it coming back. Um, and two, in a small thing, because for so many people, if they're uncomfortable being with strangers, this could
Yes.
be a great birthday party or a celebration of
Bingo.
that nature.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. The biggest challenge for us was not so much the timing of it, but it was the comfort level of the folks that are coming, right? You got to think about who's coming to a cooking class. It's and who's going to be. So most of our classes were private. That those were the classes that seemed to be filled the fastest, if you will. And when we had the public classes, even before the pandemic, they were there. It seemed to be a challenge to fill at times. But now it 100% has shifted, where people, I think, they feel much more comfortable being in their own pod or their own circle, their own group, and they can come into the store or into the pop-up space and have it like their own area, their own restaurant, their own whatever. I can teach or guide a class, or Julie can teach or guide a class, and we're a good 12, 15 feet away. Folks don't have to feel uncomfortable from a standpoint of there being any other interaction, any influx of other people, or any kind of, there's no variables from the standpoint of, oh, there could be 20 people in this party and I don't, or at this class, if you will, and I don't know where they're from, right? That's where we kind of shifted to that. And the interest level has been really, really big.
That's good. So how does it work? Do you pick the menu, or do they have an option of 3 or 4 menus?
I've had the luxury, and I say the luxury, I've worked at places like the Ritz-Carlton when it was in town. Julie and I met at the Townsend. So I've got a vast, I worked at Slow's Barbecue downtown. I have a vast variety of experiences, menus I could pull on. But quite frankly, it doesn't matter what I want to cook, right? So if you want to come, Ronnie and Woody, and you want to bring a couple family members or friends or whatever, your small group of 6 to 8 people, and have a cooking class, you kind of tell me what you like. What do you like? And we would kind of go through leading up to the class, a couple, a week or whatever, what kind of menu, and we would just hammer out a menu. And we use 3 to 4 courses, and we supply all the food, everything you need to make it, all the equipment, all that kind of stuff. And we go through the class, we make the three courses, 4 courses, and then your group will sit down at the end and eat it. So we set up almost like a dining room setting in the separate side of the space. So it's a full experience. It's not just a cooking class. It's a cooking class, and then you can kind of have your own thing. You want to celebrate a birthday or whatever it is, you can slide over into the other area of the room, sit down, eat all the awesome food that you just made. And do that for a fairly good price. You're here for most of the parties run 3 to 5 hours, and it's $75 a head generally. If you want to do steak and lobster, it might be a little bit more, but in all actuality, I think bang for your buck. You're learning 3 to 4 recipes, maybe a technique or two in the process, and you're getting all those invaluable memories with your family and friends, hopefully.
And it's such a much better way to do it than those Zoom cooking classes. I know a lot of people have been trying those throughout the pandemic.
Let me tell you,
Being able to do it in person is the way to go.
I did a few of the Zoom cooking classes, and I got to tell you, I could only put myself in the same shoes as like my first grader daughter, right? Going to school on Zoom. It's those social cues that it's so hard, like just, you just got to whip that egg a little bit more. I can't really see it in the screen, right? Like it doesn't make sense, like it's very tough, very tough. So yeah, did a few of those and said, forget about it. Like it just keep myself here at the store and, try to stay busy that way. But
Well, we are so lucky to have you guys in the community. And with that, for those that maybe have not visited your shop and your store, where are your hours and where exactly are you located?
we're located at 2534 Orchard Lake Road. We're in Sylvan Lake. So we're the little community tucked between West Bloomfield and Kego Harbor. And we are open Monday and Tuesday from 10 to 6. And we're closed on Wednesdays always. And we're open on Thursday and Friday from 10 to 7, Saturday 10 to 5, and Sunday 9 to 3.
So how hard is it to manage that schedule with you and your wife?
I generally come in early in the morning. I'm here between 4 and 5 a.m., cut the meat, set the counter, make sausage, do all that stuff. And then she gets the kids off to school and whatnot. And then she comes in 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. So we kind of get the door open with some help of another employee here and there. And then she kind of takes it from the afternoon and closes the store. And I will go home and kind of, pick up the kids and manage the house for a couple hours until she gets home.
Well, it's been great having you here with us on the show. Anything maybe I didn't ask that you want to add before we say goodbye?
No, then we touched on everything. I just, I really do appreciate the love from the community. And I you say we appreciate having a place like yours in the community. For a young family to go out on a ledge, if you will, a leap of faith to start a business and to take on all that. You hit on a couple of things that were really cool, is understanding that the challenges of the family dynamic of it, and the challenges of just learning the business of the business, if you will, right? Like I'm a chef and a butcher. I'm not necessarily know commodities or know how to interact with people, so things like that. But that's it. Just we really appreciate the community, and we do pay attention to your show. We watch it, and we love that you have people like Annabelle on, and you talk about Jeremy from Jaybird, phenomenal chef, so we just love being a part of that.
Well, good. We're lucky to have you here, and we wish you continued success as well. And again, please, people, shop local, support local. We know our big box stores are going to make it through this pandemic very easily. In fact, they are booming in business, but we need shops like yours because you really are not only the backbone of our community, but also you're the uniqueness of our community. And we know that they have big plans for the Kego Sylvan Lake area over the next 10, 15 years. And so we hope you are able to stay and continue to grow as well.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.